One of the things that will characterize an effective multicultural team is they're all, and I have to be careful how I say this, they're all on task, but they're on task in ways that make sense to them. So as I mentioned, a Kenyan will be on task in a way that makes sense in light of his relationships with others, not in light of purely the task. The American might want to focus just on the task, but he won't ignore the relationships. And so you have two different orientations, but they're both moving in the same direction, and they sense that they're harnessed together. And they solve problems by relying on the strengths of each other rather than overcoming the weaknesses of each other. Now, at times you've got to overcome the weaknesses. That's part of being a human being and part of a group. But a true multicultural team draws on the best of each of its members in ways that solves problems, in ways that moves the team forward, in ways that enables them to glorify God through their differences, not despite their differences. But that doesn't happen in 6 months. You know, it happens over the long haul of being with each other and not being together only in business settings. And I would say if you want your team to gel, you've got to find ways to do things outside of purely the business environment to demonstrate that there are real relationships there. But life gets busy for all of us, and that can be hard to do. And yet, fellowship around a meal is one of the ways to begin to break things open and give people a chance to, and letting it go around the nations, so to speak, and people being willing to not just host, but to be hosted. I was in Korea once, and they treated me like a king. And it was almost, to me as an American, embarrassing, carrying my luggage, making sure the doors were always open, bringing me to the head of lines and things like this. And at the end of the week I was there, my translator said to me, you know, you're not like most Americans. He said, you're very humble. And I thought, no, I wasn't humble at all. They were treating me like a king, and I was allowing it to happen. He said, because you let us be Koreans. You were a good guest. And he said, most Americans start to fight us. And then it results in stress because they don't let us be who we are. And it's in our country. We know how we like to host people. And you didn't fight us. And he said, thank you for being humble. And I realized, oh, he has a different definition of humble than I do. For him, humble means you fit into the expectations. For me, humble means you don't think about yourself, or you think lower of yourself than you should. And same English word, but two definitions. And it gave me a big lesson. Humility is acting according to local standards, not according to my standards. And to the extent that team members are willing to do that, it's a helpful thing. And team language becomes an issue as well, too. And sometimes there's only one language in common. If you're truly a multicultural team rather than a bicultural team, often you'll have a French, an English, or a German, or something like that being the primary language. And it might be the trade language of everybody. And that raises additional challenges, but you'll also learn how to read cues from each other, and you even develop your own idiosyncratic terms inside the group that you'll use because they remind you of shared history that you have, and that gives you a level of synergy that you otherwise wouldn't have.